In my previous life, my daughter got into a prestigious university, while my sister's daughter fell into depression and committed suicide. My sister went insane because of it and killed me. When I opened my eyes again, my sister and I had both been reincarnated. She awakened a life-swapping system and swapped my daughter with hers. This time, she took my daughter's hand and said, "Daughter, come with Mama." Her voice was filled with suppressed excitement and elation. She wanted a child who would get into a prestigious school. I gave a faint laugh at her naivety. Raising a materialistic and stubborn girl to get into a prestigious school, did she think it would be easy? My sister pushed me away, pulling my daughter Lynn, and said joyfully, "Good girl, Mama will buy you a computer right now." My back hit the cabinet, the sharp pain jolting me back to reality. My daughter Lynn had really had her life swapped with my sister's daughter, Valerie. I held my back, watching my sister cherish Lynn like a treasure, and couldn't help but let out a laugh. Suddenly, a little girl beside me gently tugged my hand. "Mommy, does your back hurt?" I looked down into her worried eyes, froze for a few seconds, then patted her head. "Good Valerie, Mommy isn't hurt." My sister, meanwhile, tightly hugged Lynn, scoffed at me, and then led an excited Lynn into the computer store. "What's the use of being good? Is she as smart as my daughter?" I glanced at them but didn't reply. In my previous life, Lynn's academic performance was indeed excellent, a model student in everyone's eyes. But only I, her mother, knew how terrifying Lynn truly was. Before the university entrance exam, she demanded I buy a study guide worth 20 million VND, threatening to drop out if I didn't. In college, she forced me to sell our house to buy designer bags, leaving me with hundreds of millions in debt. My sister knew nothing about any of that. After her daughter committed suicide due to depression, I kindly took her in. Yet, she harbored jealousy, suffocating me with a pillow in the middle of the night. Thinking of this, I clenched my hands. She wanted a child who excelled academically so badly. Now she has one, I hope she won't regret it. The computer my daughter forced me to buy in my previous life cost several months of my salary. I was about to lead Valerie away when I suddenly heard my sister's astonished voice from inside the store. 30 million VND for one computer? Immediately after, Lynn's annoyed voice followed. "It's only 30 million. This is for my studies. If you can't afford it, don't have children." I couldn't help but chuckle. 30 million was just the beginning. Soon after, my sister, looking pale, dragged Lynn out of the store. Lynn, meanwhile, carried a brand new computer. My sister saw me and put on a triumphant air, patting Lynn's head and saying, "A dragon gives birth to a dragon, a phoenix to a phoenix. A rat only knows how to dig holes. Someone like you can only give birth to stupid children." Lynn also held her computer, showing off to Valerie. I just smiled, saying nothing. Originally planning to leave, I suddenly changed my mind. I took Valerie's hand and walked into the computer store. It's not just smart kids who deserve computers. Behind us, Lynn saw Valerie with a similar computer, angrily slammed hers to the ground, and threw a tantrum. "I don't want to use the same one as that brat. Buy me another one, a more expensive one. If you don't have money, don't have children." Hearing that sound, I walked away with a light step. With my sister's meager savings, how long would she last? Leading Valerie home, I felt something under my feet. Valerie, holding my slippers, squatted in front of me, obediently saying, "Thank you, Mommy, for buying me a computer." My heart melted. After changing my shoes, I took out my phone to contact a doctor for future prevention. Valerie had suffered from depression. I unexpectedly received a call from my sister. "My daughter wants a university exam prep gift worth 100 million VND. "Lend me 100 million, sister. Anyway, your daughter isn't good at studying, she shouldn't go to school anymore. Once my daughter gets into a prestigious university, I guarantee you'll eat well and dress well." My eyelid twitched. I had never seen anyone so shameless. "I won't lend you the money because that's your daughter, not mine. If you don't lend it, I'll tell Mom and she'll scold you for being heartless." I didn't wait for her to finish, coldly hanging up. Speaking of heartless, who was more heartless than whom? In my previous life, even when I was hundreds of millions in debt, I still managed to spend money for my sister to travel for solace, yet in the end, she ruthlessly killed me. When Valerie returned from the hospital, the doctor's words still echoed in my head. Currently, Valerie doesn't have depression. As long as she's not under too much pressure, she won't develop it. I thought of the scars on Valerie's hand, clenching my fist. In my previous life, Valerie suffered from depression, surely because my sister frequently abused her. I was secretly cursing my sister as an animal when I suddenly received a screenshot from her. What have you done? Why isn't Lynn like I imagined? I opened the picture, seeing Lynn's online post accusing her biological mother. My original family is the pain of my life. If you can't raise a child, don't have one. Poor people don't deserve to be parents. If you have a child, everything is your responsibility. If you feel you can't bear the responsibility, don't have one. Having children just to be taken care of in old age doesn't deserve happiness. All suffering is well-deserved. Below the post were countless comments. My sister was attacked by netizens until she broke down. I chuckled softly, not replying, and even liked the post. Now, without the burden of Lynn, my savings had increased significantly. I planned to take Valerie on a world tour after her university entrance exam. Thinking of the beautiful future, I even smiled in my sleep. Suddenly, there was an urgent knocking outside the door. I got up and opened it. Standing there were my mother and my sister. My mother pointed directly at my face and cursed, "If it weren't for you, your sister wouldn't have been attacked by netizens and lost her job. You have to take responsibility and give me 100 million. My sister looked at me with triumph in her eyes. I smiled coldly. "I'm not giving you money. If you come here causing trouble in the middle of the night again, I'll call the police." After saying that, I tried to close the door, but a strong force held it back. Next came a slap like thunder across my face. My sister hit me. "You're jealous because my daughter studies better, so you deliberately didn't lend me money." I gritted my teeth, my heart full of rage. In my previous life, I thought my sister was only targeting me because she was jealous of my daughter's academic success. When she stole my gold bracelet worth tens of millions, I didn't even care. The result was that I gave her the opportunity to kill me. In this life, our children are swapped, and she's still targeting me. I don't want to tolerate it anymore. Some people simply cannot stand it when others live better than them. The very next second, I swung my arm in retaliation. My sister nearly stumbled and fell, holding her face and staring at me. "How dare you hit me?" I raised my phone, full of anger, and said, "Get out now, don't disturb my daughter's sleep. She's about to take her university exam and needs proper rest." Finally, my sister and mother left, looking furious and defeated. Soon after, the university entrance exam began. I rented a room in a 5-star hotel near the exam center for my daughter's convenience. My daughter said she didn't need me to follow, but I insisted on accompanying her. I reminded her to bring all her documents. As we approached the exam center, I heard a quarrel. I glanced over and saw Lynn rolling on the ground, throwing a tantrum. "I want the newest iPhone right now. Otherwise, I'm not taking the exam." Beside her, my sister was sweating profusely, and people around were pointing. I stood with my arms crossed, watching, enjoying the show. At this hour, I don't even know if the Apple store is open, and there isn't one around here anyway. If you're not taking the exam, then don't provoke her anymore. Someone interjected. My sister turned and spat at that person. "What did you say? I like to spoil my daughter? You're jealous because my daughter is smart. Your daughter will definitely fail the exam." The passerby, who had good intentions, was so insulted that they cursed my sister for being crazy. I lowered my head, checked my watch, and urged my daughter to quickly enter the exam building, but my sister spotted me. She lunged to stop Valerie from entering the exam center. "My daughter can't take the exam, so don't even think about your daughter taking it." Valerie's exam card was recklessly snatched away. My heart almost jumped out of my chest. My sister's vicious eyes made me realize her words were true, so I went along with what she said. "Calm down, I'll go buy you an iPhone." And I gestured to the people around us. I pretended to walk aside. The people around helped me distract her. I seized the opportunity, lunged forward, and bit her arm. My sister screamed in pain. The exam card in her hand fell to the ground. I immediately picked it up and shoved it into my daughter's hand. She quickly ran into the exam room. My sister, clutching her arm, threatened to call the police. Passers-by immediately stepped forward. "We can testify. You were the one who started it." My sister gritted her teeth, staring at me, but couldn't do anything. Time was running out. Finally, with only a few minutes left, my sister managed to buy a new iPhone for Lynn. Only then did Lynn agree to enter the exam room. After the first day of exams ended, I took Valerie out to eat, and then we both returned to the 5-star hotel I had booked. Unexpectedly, my sister and Lynn were standing right in front of the room I had reserved. Lynn grumbled to her mother, "I want to stay in a 5-star hotel, Mom. Figure it out." My sister saw me, and as if seeing a savior, rushed over and snatched the room card from my hand. I dodged to the side. "If you want to stay, book a room yourself, but it's exam season now. 5-star hotels are fully booked without advance reservations. My sister grabbed my shirt, cursing. My daughter is about to get into a prestigious school. You can't stand in her way. Give me the room card. I clenched my lips, looking at her ferocious face, still feeling a slight pang of pain in my heart. After all, she and I were sisters. I once couldn't believe she could kill me, but this fierce appearance reminded me of my previous life. When she suffocated me with a pillow until I died, I couldn't breathe, my whole body convulsed, and all I could hear was my sister's frantic screams. Why do you get to live better than me? You don't deserve it. I took a deep breath. All remaining affection finally vanished. I raised my head and looked directly at her, trying to remove her hand from my shirt. Suddenly, she pushed hard, and my head slammed against the door. I felt the world spin, my head buzzed, and then intense pain surged through me. I passed out. When I woke up, it was midnight in the hospital. The throbbing pain in my head reminded me that the injuries my sister inflicted were real. I looked at Valerie sitting by the bed and finally decided not to call the police immediately. It would affect her exam. The next day, after Valerie left for her exam, my sister came to the hospital with a fruit basket, pretending to be kind. Knowing my daughter will get into a prestigious university, I didn't call the police to curry favor with me. Just transfer the house to me, and I'll let my daughter adopt you as her foster mother. That's a great deal. As soon as I saw her triumphant look, anger flared in my heart. I raised my hand and overturned the fruit basket. The fruit knife on the table fell, clattering against my sister's leg. My sister screamed, cursed me for being unreasonable, and ran away. I laughed coldly. I'm just not calling the police now. It doesn't mean I won't settle the score later. Besides, isn't the thing she cares about most Lynn's exam scores? What if she doesn't get into a prestigious university? In my previous life, when Lynn was still my daughter in 12th grade, she stole a BV Elgari diamond bracelet worth 600 million VND out of jealousy of someone else. After the university exam, that person came looking for her, and I had to sell our house to pay them back. In this life, if I informed that person in advance, would Lynn's exam go smoothly? So, the night before the last exam day, I used a dummy account to add that person on WeChat and recounted the entire incident. The next morning, after Valerie entered the exam room, I sat waiting for the last subject to finish. I opened my phone and saw my sister still boasting online last night. My daughter is about to get into a prestigious university and will be holding a celebration party. Everyone is welcome to attend. Gifts must not be less than 500,000 VND, please. My mouth twitched. Normally, people only give 100,000 to 200,000 VND. She was truly insatiably greedy. Sure enough, someone commented, "There's still one more day of exams. Are you sure your daughter will pass?" My sister replied rudely, "My daughter is not an ordinary person. If she doesn't get into a prestigious university, I'll eat shit, you'll see." Just then, an argument erupted at the school gate. "I have to take the exam, let me in." I followed the sound. Lynn was hit in the face, her eyes swollen red, and was being blocked by the security guard. "It's past exam time, you can't go in." Lynn's face turned pale. She sat down, crying and throwing a tantrum. I just watched the scene with a cold smile. Time flew by. Valerie, carrying her backpack, walked quickly towards me, looking happy. We got into the car, luggage already packed inside. Right after the exam, we were off to travel. I was afraid that if we delayed, my sister would find out Lynn failed and cling to me again. We began our first trip in Sanya. The brilliant sunshine shone on my skin, bringing an incredibly warm feeling. After a few days of playing, I suddenly remembered my sister's social media post. Had she deleted it yet? I opened it to check. The post was still there, and there were even more comments below. "If your daughter really gets into a prestigious university, I'll give a 10 million VND red packet." My sister proudly replied, "My daughter will definitely get into a prestigious school. You people are just jealous. When the celebration party happens, everyone can come and see her scores." The more I scrolled down and read, the stranger it felt. Didn't Lynn tell her mother that she had skipped the last day of the exam? But it didn't matter. However triumphant my sister was now, she would be just as heartbroken when she learned the truth. Suddenly, I received a call from my sister. Her voice was gritting. "You knew from the beginning that Lynn stole a 600 million VND bracelet, right? I don't have the money, you have to pay for me." I raised my eyebrows in surprise. It seemed Lynn had finally confessed. I took the glass of juice Valerie handed me, pretending not to know. "What? How would I know? Lynn is your daughter, not mine." My sister seemed to throw something to the ground, yelling into the phone. It's all your fault. Now people come to my house every day demanding money, saying they'll chop off my hands if I don't pay. I felt incredibly happy inside, satisfied as I hung up. At that moment, Valerie came closer to me, her voice clear. Mommy, I want to go home early and get a part-time job to earn money for my tuition. Now, Valerie was no longer the shy girl she once was, but had become much more lively and independent. I felt very content. I patted her head and agreed. It was also almost time for the exam results to be announced, and I wanted to go home to watch my sister's drama at the celebration party. Getting off the plane, we took a taxi home, but as soon as we reached the gate, I knew something was wrong. My belongings were scattered all over in front of my house. I had a bad feeling. I approached to look, recognizing all of them as my own. Confused, I took out my key to open the door, only to find strangers inside. After talking to them, I understood everything. I immediately called my sister, trying to control my anger. How dare you rent out my house to others? This is my house. It turned out my sister had used a spare key to enter my house. She replied coldly, "Who told you not to lend me money? Now my daughter is having a celebration party for getting into university, you should contribute money." I gritted my teeth, gripping the phone tightly. I took a deep breath, deciding to call the police. After reporting, my sister was also taken to the station. The police asked, "Do you admit to trespassing on someone else's property?" My sister casually said, "So what? My daughter is about to get into a prestigious university. She, as my sister, should contribute money." But no matter what she said, in the end, she was fined for me and had to pay for the stolen bracelet. Leaving the station, my sister immediately grabbed my arm, raising her hand to hit me. I quickly held her hand, saying coldly, "I'm not the same person I used to be. Don't even think about getting anything from me." Then I reminded her, "You'd better ask Lynn what happened on the last day of her university exam. Otherwise, the tables might turn on you." Regardless of my sister's reaction, I turned and walked away, only hearing her furious scream behind me. "You're jealous of my daughter, she's so smart. Your daughter is just a fool." Getting into the car, I received a message from Valerie. "Mommy, I found a summer job. When I have money, I'll buy you good food." The corner of my mouth curved slightly, a warm feeling swelling in my heart. Day after day passed. My sister continuously boasted online about her daughter being about to get into a prestigious university, unaware that many netizens were just waiting for a good show. On the day the exam results were announced, I went to my sister's celebration party with anticipation. Looking around, she must have spent a lot of money on this party. As soon as I entered, my sister raised her hand to block me. "You're not welcome here. Get out." I smiled, handing her a red envelope. She took it, felt it was heavy, and her eyes lit up. She snorted coldly, then let me in. "Let me share in my daughter's good luck. Your daughter definitely failed university." Valerie had already told me her scores. She didn't get into a top university, but it was a regular public university. I had never expected Valerie to be extraordinarily successful. As long as she was safe and sound, I was content. As soon as I sat down, I began observing my surroundings. Lynn walked over and whispered something to my sister. My sister's face stiffened for a moment, then she pulled out a wad of money from her pocket and handed it to Lynn. In my previous life, after Lynn got into a prestigious university, she constantly found excuses to extort money from me, demanding 30 million VND in just 1 month. In this life, because she didn't get into a prestigious university, she could only try to get some extra money before the results were announced. I looked at my watch and said loudly, "It's this late and you still haven't checked the scores? Are the scores so low you're afraid to check?" There were countless guests at the celebration party. The person who had previously scoffed also spoke up. Before, she boasted online about how smart her daughter was, how she would definitely get into a prestigious university, and said she'd eat shit if she didn't pass. Let's hope it doesn't come true in the end. Some people knew Lynn had always been a good student. She studied so well, she must have done well on the exam. Those people waiting for a show will just get slapped in the face. My sister put her hands on her hips, proudly listening to everyone's compliments. Lynn, standing next to her, avoided eye contact. "Don't be impatient, we'll check the scores right now," my sister said, then projected the score-checking screen onto a large projector. I drank a glass of wine, eagerly awaiting her pale face later. My sister opened the score-checking interface, gently asking Lynn, "Good girl, read your candidate number so everyone can see how smart you are." Lynn bit her lower lip tightly, silent. Everyone around began to notice something unusual, buzzing with whispers. Could it be that she did so badly she doesn't dare to say? My sister urged her several times. Seeing no response, her expression changed, but she still tried to force a smile. She's probably a little tired. Everyone wait a moment. Snorted coldly. Not tired, but afraid everyone will find out she failed. My sister whispered something to Lynn, then suddenly snatched the exam card from her pocket. I saw her hand tremble uncontrollably as she typed the numbers. After entering the information, my sister pressed the check button. I glued my eyes to the screen, and when the result appeared, I couldn't help but sneer. After a moment of silence, a series of laughter and taunts erupted. Get into a prestigious university. With scores like this, it's hard to even get into a public school, and she even skipped one subject. She used to boast like fireworks, now I wonder if she's ready to eat shit. My sister's face turned ashen. She trembled and said, "No, it can't be. In my previous life, she got into a prestigious university. It can't be this bad." I looked at her with a cold smile. You just wanted a child who got into a prestigious university. Now your dream is shattered, isn't it? My sister frantically checked again and again, but the result remained unchanged. She gritted her teeth, turned to Lynn, her eyes wide, grabbing the girl's collar. "What exactly happened? Weren't you very good at studying?" Lynn burst into tears, pointing at me. "It's Auntie's fault. Auntie didn't want me to do better than her daughter, so she stopped me from entering the exam room. That's why I missed the exam." I stared at Lynn, stunned. How could anyone lie so brazenly? Although it was true I had secretly taken action, I didn't stop her from taking the exam. My sister immediately believed her daughter, glaring at me as if she was about to burst into flames. "It must be you. If it weren't for you, my daughter would definitely have gotten into a prestigious university. How can you be so vicious?" The people around, seeing Lynn sobbing, also somewhat believed her. I can't believe someone could be so cruel. That's right, Lynn was always a good student. Now that she missed the exam, something must have happened. I looked at the mother and daughter coldly, feeling nauseous. They truly resembled mother and daughter more than anyone. My sister slowly advanced towards me, her eyes filled with bitter hatred, as if she wanted to devour me alive. Suddenly, she lunged like a madwoman, grabbing my hair and scratching wildly. The pain made me cry out, but immediately I reached for the glass next to me. Clang, I smashed it straight onto her head. My sister cried out in pain and let go. I immediately broke free, ran to the side, and angrily shouted, "What was your reason for being late that day? You know best yourself. Don't blame everything on me." As soon as I finished speaking, there was a commotion at the door. A man with a scar on his face, holding a stick, rushed in. "You stole my daughter's bracelet and still haven't paid. Today I'm not even counting the exam celebration party. You failed the exam and still want to go to university." The man with the scarred face stormed in, his presence formidable, and casually pulled up a chair to sit down. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, I had informed him to come and demand the money beforehand. Otherwise, I might not have escaped today. I sneered, looking at Lynn's pale face. "Let's see how you explain this time." My sister heard that, turned her head to look at Lynn's guilty expression, and understood everything. She was so furious that 2 streams of hot air puffed out of her nose, and she angrily pointed at Lynn's nose, cursing, "You useless bastard! How much money have I spent? And you only bring back results like this." Whispers started around them. So, the girl stole someone's item, got beaten, and then skipped the exam, and she even blamed her own aunt. A moment ago, she was pretending to be innocent and pitiful. Now her true disgusting nature is revealed. Exposed, Lynn immediately stopped acting, pushing my sister away forcefully. "If it weren't for you not giving me a better life, I wouldn't have needed to steal. I wouldn't have been late for the exam. It's all your fault." I watched the mother and daughter tear each other apart, feeling incredibly pleased. It was best for them to fight like this. The man with the scar began to lose patience, slamming his stick on the floor with a loud asterisk thump. The 2 of them flinched in fright. "Today, if you don't return the bracelet, I'm calling the police right now." I continued to watch, curious to see if these 2 could retrieve the bracelet. In my previous life, I knew that after Lynn stole the bracelet, it was stolen from her by someone else when she went out to play. Now, there was no way to get it back. At this point, my sister had no choice but to sell her house, and selling the house was just the beginning of her nightmare. Finally, my sister agreed to sell the house to pay the debt, and only then did the scarred man agree to leave. I looked at the desolate scene around me. The celebration party for Lynn's university admission had turned into a public shaming and debt collection. How ironic. I clicked my tongue and shook my head. The play was almost over. I stood up to leave, but my sister grabbed my arm, gritting her teeth and saying, "Did you also reincarnate? Did you know in advance that Lynn was a money grubber, didn't you?" I only smiled without answering, removing her hand. That was the path she chose herself. Back home, Valerie had already returned from her part-time job. The sound of cooking echoed from the kitchen. "Mommy, you're home. I'm cooking your favorite braised pork belly. Wash your hands and come eat, okay?" I replied gently, changed my shoes, and walked into the living room. Unexpectedly, I saw a pink birthday cake on the table. Valerie came out carrying a bowl of braised pork belly. "Mommy, today is your birthday. I got my salary early and bought you a cake. It's a bit small, but I hope you don't mind." I looked at my daughter, playfully sticking out her tongue. My eyes suddenly teared up, wanting to say something but unable to speak. In my previous life, I had never felt love from my daughter, only constant demands. But in this life, I felt everything from Valerie. I choked up and hugged her tightly. "Having you as my daughter is so good." At this moment, my phone rang. It was my mother calling. I wiped my tears and answered. "I want to sell the house to pay off debt. Come here and sign the papers." The monthly mortgage payments for that house were mine. My sister hadn't contributed a single penny. Why was she asking me to sell it to pay off her debt? I bowed my head, not answering. Today was my birthday, yet my relatives only thought about exploiting me. How disgusting. I didn't bother to listen further. I hung up and added her to my block list. I turned back, smiled, and ate a piece of the cake Valerie offered. So sweet. The next morning, Valerie woke up early for her part-time job. I was about to sleep in a little more when I received another call from my mother. "Come here quickly, I'm having a heart attack." Her voice was loud and clear like a bell, not at all like someone who was sick. I suspiciously looked at the address, wondering whether to go. In the end, I decided to go see what trick she was up to. I arrived at a cafe and saw my mother and sister sitting there, facing a real estate agent. I immediately understood everything. No beating around the bush. "Mom, you want to sell the house, I won't stop you, but I'll take half of the proceeds from the sale. What you do with your half, I don't care, but you need to think carefully. Once it's sold, you won't have a place to live. Don't come looking for me. I won't support you anymore." My mother was stunned after hearing this. She was about to give me the contract to sign, but immediately withdrew her hand, hesitating. "But your sister owes too much money." I smiled coldly. "She has a house too, doesn't she? She's still young, she has plenty of time to earn money. But you're not like that." Spoken to like that, my mother immediately sobered up, saying she wouldn't sell the house anymore. My sister, meanwhile, gritted her teeth and glared at me. "You ruined all my good things, just you wait." I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her. She couldn't even take care of herself now. Where would she find the time to cause me trouble? 2 summer months passed quickly. Valerie got into a local university. On enrollment day, I personally took her there. Before leaving, I secretly slipped a thick wad of cash into her backpack. "Take this. Mom will cover your tuition. Don't worry about money. I have plenty." Valerie initially refused but finally accepted it under my insistence. "Mom, when I graduate and earn a lot of money, I'll definitely let you enjoy life." My eyes reddened as I patted her head. Since reincarnation, Valerie and I had always lived together. Though not many years had passed, the bond between us was incredibly deep. On the way home, I unexpectedly saw my sister taking Lynn to re-enroll in 12th grade. I sighed, truly, how the world turns. Before, she had excellent grades, a standout student in school, but now she was rejected by many schools for having stolen a BV Algari bracelet worth 600 million VND. I stopped the car by the roadside and watched for a moment, then looked up the school online. The school Lynn was re-enrolling in was an expensive private school with extremely high tuition fees. I guessed my sister had used part of the house sale money to pay off debt and the rest for Lynn's tuition. So, would she still be able to buy designer items for Lynn? I couldn't stop laughing, looking forward to seeing how Lynn would explode. Next, just as I was about to drive away, I heard an asterisk slap. My sister slapped Lynn hard across the face. "Study hard, you hear me. If you don't get first place in the mock exam, no dinner for a week." I turned to look, taking a sharp breath. The fresh mark on Lynn's hand reminded me of the old scars on Valerie's hand before. It was horrifying. I could almost imagine how my sister was tormenting Lynn. Lynn, after being slapped, lowered her head in silence. Once my sister turned away, she raised her head, her eyes dark, as if calculating something. Based on my understanding of Lynn, it definitely wasn't anything good. I shrugged and drove away. The more chaotic they were, the happier I was. During Valerie's university years, she often sent me photos, sharing her daily life. Looking at her bright, vibrant smile in the pictures, I felt younger myself. "Mom, go to bed early, don't stay up late all the time," Valerie scolded me during a video call. I rolled my eyes. "How do you always catch me staying up late? All right, I promise. Are you coming home this weekend? I miss Mom's braised pork belly so much, I want a whole bowl." I smiled and nodded. Suddenly, there was urgent knocking at the door. I hung up and got up to open it. Standing there was my sister. Her face was haggard, her hair disheveled, clinging tightly to my hand as if it were a life raft. "I don't want to switch daughters anymore. You take your daughter back. She's a devil." I glanced at her from head to toe, suppressing a laugh, and asked, "What did she do to you?" "She took all my money and even tried to sell me to someone for money. She's not human." I said coldly, "Isn't this karma?" Not bothering to listen further, I forcefully slammed the door shut and called the building manager. Not long after, the knocking outside gradually faded. Soon after, on the way home, I saw an ambulance arrive. I overheard people by the roadside discussing. I heard the person who died was the perpetrator's mother. She constantly forced her daughter to study and beat her, so the girl couldn't take it anymore and stabbed her to death with a knife. Before, the girl was the top student in her school, but now she's been tormented into madness, becoming a murderer. She'll probably spend the rest of her life in a mental institution. My heart felt a surge of satisfaction hearing this. Suddenly, Lynn rushed out of the police cordon, running towards me. "You are my real mother. She's not my mother." I was shocked. It seemed that Lynn from the previous life had reincarnated into her current self. She recognized that I was her biological mother, but I had long since didn't want to recognize her as my child. I turned and walked away without hesitation. Behind me, her desperate screams echoed.